Time and again he paddled into the swamps and preached to the trees and the alligators. Soon the first opportunities came to preach at various churches. He also began preaching regularly at a mobile home park, which was more promising than preaching on the street, where he often had to deal with angry shop owners. The daughter of the medical missionary in China had to leave the country abruptly due to the Civil War and was sent to study at Wheaton College near Chicago. The farm boy received a scholarship for the same college after Bible school, and there they met. The farmer's son fell in love with the missionary's daughter. She was very impressed with his faith and earnestness. "The man knows who he's talking to," she thought to herself on hearing him pray in the room next door. He invited her to go to hear Handel's Messiah. She accepted the invitation. Afterward, she wrote in her diary that she would consider it her greatest privilege to spend her life at this man's side. Years later, she remarked that if she had known what that would mean, she probably would not have had the courage to write something like that. She still dreamed of working as a missionary in Tibet. However, he felt that God had given him a different calling. After a clarifying talk together, she gave up her life's dreams with a heavy heart and committed herself to supporting his calling from that point on. She wrote in her diary, "He will be increasingly burdened for lost souls and increasingly active in the Lord's work. I will slip into the background. In short, be a lost life, lost in bills." On August 13, 1943, Ruth Bell and Billy Graham married and started a teamwork that would influence the lives of countless people on all continents. This book is about two people from very different backgrounds and their relationships with God and their associates, their priorities and their principles, their love for people and their partnership. It's about a married couple functioning as a true team who had a lasting effect on the world. Ruth and Billy Graham. The story of Billy Graham's worldwide ministry has been recounted from many angles. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said of the significant contribution Ruth made to his ministry. What Billy Graham stands for to this day would not have been possible without his wife, Ruth. No one did as much as Billy Graham to share the gospel with so many people face to face in the second half of the 20th century. In addition, he reached millions of people via mass media. He preached on the American television network NBC when scarcely every fourth American even owned a TV. He transmitted the gospel of Jesus Christ in many great places on this planet and challenged people to make a decision. At the closing event of his first London crusade in 1954, Wembley Stadium couldn't hold the enormous crowd of people who wanted to hear him. The same was true for the Olympic Stadium in Berlin soon after. Graham's evangelistic campaigns in Europe, especially in Great Britain, Finland, and Germany, remain the biggest Christian events ever to take place in those countries. The same is true for Australia and New Zealand and many other countries around the world. Only the popes, particularly John Paul II, ever preached to similar multitudes. In 1954, the German weekly Der Spiegel ran a cover story about Billy Graham's mission in Germany. A year later, Zürcher Kirchenbote reported after his campaign in Zurich that never had so many people heard the message of the Bible all at once. It was a moving moment when tens of thousands earnestly followed the gospel of redemption in Jesus Christ. Many years later, the French newspaper Le Figaro titled a report on his ministry, Billy Graham, La Voix de Dieu. Billy Graham, the voice of God. The newspaper described him as a nearly untouchable institution or statue, an unequaled preacher who believed totally in the truth of the Bible. Over the years, Billy Graham reached countless people through his live sermons, TV series, his weekly radio broadcast, The Hour of Decision, and his daily column, My Answer. For many, he was God's messenger par excellence. In 1972, the Saturday Evening Post described him as the greatest personal phenomenon of this age and the best-known man in the world today. The New York Times may have been slightly more accurate when, after his appearances at London's Trafalgar Square and New York's Times Square, it stated that Billy Graham had transformed the crossroads in the world into great cathedrals.